keeping you up to speed on all your Colorado teams. It's time for Coffee Break.
A happy Thursday to you all. Welcome into Coffee Break, and an extra happy Thursday to Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes, who got some fantastic news just a little bit earlier today. And to discuss that with me, I have none other than the scrappy one, Will Petersen. How are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm better now, Richie. I mean, you telling me that we just wake up this morning, no idea, and all of a sudden about 9:30, it's, Juju Lewis is going on the Pat McAfee show, and he's going to commit. I like watching the Pat McAfee show. This was much must-watch television. What a day for Buffs fans.
Yeah, you said it. Juju Lewis, 5-star quarterback, has committed to the University of Colorado, and essentially, in my opinion, has solidified the passing of the torch and the direction of the next step of the Coach Prime era. We all had questions from the very beginning about what it would look like. We knew he was here to get Shedeur to the NFL, get Travis to the NFL, get his son Shiloh, maybe to the NFL. But we didn't know what was happening after that.
Right.
And it was, he's going to stay. He put up roots. He's got his kickstand down, as he said. But you never know. There's when you're someone with the magnitude, the popularity, and the gravitas of Deion Sanders, the world bends to you to a certain degree. So we could have said he'll stay, he'll do this, he'll do that. But, Jerry Jones comes a knocking, Mark Davis comes a knocking, Florida State or an SEC program comes a knocking with the right opportunity, the right amount of money, and the right persuasion, and anything's possible. But this, to me, is a nail in that coffin, that Coach Prime is here to stay in Boulder for maybe the remainder of what he decides to be his college football coaching career, and we'll see what happens from there.
Well, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Richie. The two biggest stories, there's 1A, you have a replacement for Shedeur Sanders, and that is huge because now in 2025, we can say, hey, the Buffs can win the Big 12. They can go to the college football playoff. It'll keep CU relevant, replacing a top 5 QB in the NFL draft with a 5-star QB. And then 1B, of course, is, yeah, this increases the odds significantly that Coach Prime will be in Boulder next year. I already thought they were pretty good based on everything he's saying, but it's probably hard for him to look parents in the eyes, recruits in the eyes, this kid, 5-star kid in the eyes, and say, I'm staying. We see coaches flip. I get it. I'm not saying there's no chance it'll happen.
Midnight Mel Tucker.
Yeah. Remember the Texas baseball coach? I'm never coaching at Texas. And then like 12 hours later, he was the Texas coach. My point is, though, we've seen coaches lie before. That said, Juju Lewis has a lot on the line with this. I am sure they had to get the assurance from Coach Prime that he will be in Boulder. So those are two big stories. A, you replaced Shedeur this morning. And B, I think Deion's here in 2025 and beyond.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think somebody with the notoriety and the suitors that Juju Lewis would have, he had his pick of, any school in the country he could have gone to, and he chose Colorado. And because of what's on the line, and I understand there's different dynamics in play now with NIL and the amount of money that these kids have in front of them with sponsorships and endorsements and things like that, and just flat out being paid by the university. But he's a guy that has legitimate prospects on an NFL future, that thinks that he's, going to be one of the league's next quarterbacks in a handful of years. And he's not going to make that decision when he could go anywhere to come to Colorado unless he feels confident that Prime is going to be there to help him see it through. And he could transfer. These guys could transfer. So, a year from now, we may be having a different conversation. Right. But as of now, I think all indications are pointing that Coach Prime is backing up the words that he's been saying, that he's going to be here and he's planted in Boulder and establishing what he's doing here in Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said that because I love Colorado football. Everyone knows I'm a huge CU Buffs fan, but Juju Lewis isn't coming to Boulder because he bleeds black and gold. He's coming to Boulder because Deion Sanders is the head coach. Let's make that abundantly clear, that guys who commit to Alabama or Ohio State, they go because they want to say they play for Alabama or Ohio State. But with Juju, he wants to play for Coach Prime. So that's another element to pointing toward Deion will stay, despite all the rumors, speculation. I mean, Richie, Jerry Jones is just crazy enough to offer Deion Sanders $25 million a year. It's Jerry. Jerry's getting a little wackier by the day. So I think that I'm not rubber stamping Deion is here, but a guy like Juju Lewis isn't coming to Boulder to play for the Buffs. He's coming to Boulder to play for Deion Sanders and wear a Buffs uniform. It's just a huge day all around.
It is. Jerry, for the record, should take some of that $25 million he would maybe give Deion and spend it on fixing the roof in the stadium and maybe hiring some people to take over the positions of his children, among the board of the Dallas Cowboys. I digress. I also think something that this signifies is Juju Lewis is the first domino. I think we're going to see some other major commitments coming down the line as this season progresses and into this offseason. I mean, you've got guys like Michael Carroll and Cardi Smith, high-profile offensive linemen, and you're going to get a bevy of skill position players. Once you lock down a quarterback, a lot of other flies start to buzz toward that flame. And I think that is honestly the blueprint of it was even before the NIL deal, and I think it's even the NIL era, and I think it's even more important now. That's the blueprint of a perennial college football powerhouse, is your ability to restock the cupboards. No matter how much talent you have on any given year, your ability to restock the cupboards, quarterback being the most important of those positions. I mean, you look at, they look a little bit different now, but you look at the way that Clemson was able to go from a Deshaun Watson to a Trevor Lawrence, and then it kind of fell off with DJ Uiagalelei, and they had that one other kid in there whose name I can't remember, but they had national champion caliber quarterbacks year after year after year. Alabama going from Jalen Hurts to Tua Tagovailoa, and now they've got Jalen Milroe, and it's a sign that the Colorado football program that we knew just 2 years ago is unrecognizable. I mean, these guys have a chance, as long as Coach Prime is here, to put themselves on par with just about any program in college football.
Yeah, I mean, Richie, you and I could have done 20 coffee breaks 2 years ago, 20 of them, and CU football may not have come up. They were that irrelevant. And now here we are on a Thursday before Broncos and Raiders, which I know we'll chat about as well. And the Buffs are the biggest story in town. That's crazy. Like, it's hard to continue to wrap your mind around it. And you made a good point on this is just the first domino. Remember, Coach Prime loves the transfer portal too. So now this gets wide receivers, tight ends, running backs going, oh, I get to play with a 5-star in Boulder. He may get not only recruits, but he may get transfers out of this too. Because Deion doesn't really look at high school kids unless they're absolute studs, right? Like Jordan Seaton being the most famous example last year. Like, the entire way Prime builds a program is through the portal, unless he can get a 5-star out of high school. So I do think recruits will come that have a lot of stars next to their name. And I also think you'll be looking at kids who are coming from SEC programs like Will Shepherd, for example, who are going, oh, I get to play with Juju Lewis. Yeah, I'll transfer to Boulder.
And speaking of stars, Colorado's brightest star, arguably, if not a 1A, 1B, in Travis Hunter, is continuing to separate himself from the pack as the Heisman favorite for this football season. And as good as Ashton Genty has been statistically, I genuinely don't see how if I was a voter, could give it to someone other than Travis for the level of play and the impact that a singular player is having on both sides of the football, to the degree that by the end of the season, he will have played 2 college football seasons simultaneously.
Yeah.
He will have played a season on each side of the ball.
No, it's crazy. I mean, what he's doing is unprecedented, or at least we haven't seen in 25, 30 years. So it's unreal. And I'm with you. Like, the odds makers are reflecting this too, Richie. Jake Shapiro writes about this every week at denversports.com. Like, the odds keep getting further and further, as in Travis keeps becoming a bigger and bigger
As of this
favorite.
morning, I think he's just under or right at minus 400, and Ashton Genty in second is at plus 400. You're talking about a complete polar switch.
And to, if folks don't really understand the gambling, that means you would have to gamble $40 on Travis to only win $10. Like, there's no bang for your buck left, because he's such an overwhelming favorite. By the way, he had a press conference within the last hour that Jake Shapiro was on. It was a Zoom call because they wanted to make him available to national folks, both he and Shedeur Sanders. And he made 2 things. One, he's definitely declaring for the 2025 NFL draft. That's a footnote, but it's still newsworthy. And 2, the bigger one, Richie, he said on this call again within the last hour that he does want to play both ways in the NFL and is looking for a team that embraces him playing both ways. Coaches are stubborn, especially at that level. We'll see if anyone lets him do it, but he wants to do it.
He should want to do it because it gives him the most amount of options to find a path toward big NFL money and to keep himself on the field in what it's one thing to be an elite level dominant college football player. The NFL is full of the best players on all of their college teams throughout all of the, all of history. So it's a little bit different there. I don't think Travis should try to play both ways in the NFL because I think that,
which way would you pick?
I would put him at corner. I think
so much more money at receiver though.
I know. Well, but I'm doing it from the point of what do I think he'll be the most successful at?
Okay.
I think it is harder to find a true lockdown corner in the NFL than it is to find a productive receiver who can flirt with 1,000 yards or, it's hard to find Jamar Chases and Justin Jeffersons and CeeDee Lambs, but you can get away with, being a middle tier receiver and making pretty good money. I mean, there was I'm old enough to remember when Christian Kirk signed a $72 million contract extension.
Yeah.
So I agree with you that the money is there. But I just think that if I'm going to play at the highest level, I want to play at what I'm best at. And, I guess the best example of the multi-use player in today's NFL is Taysom Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that Taysom Hill is the exact archetype that I think Travis Hunter is better at the things that he does than Taysom Hill was at the things that he did and is currently doing. And, could I see maybe using, Travis Hunter in some specialty return situations and, some special packages on offense, maybe things like that. But I don't know, man. You mentioned, we haven't seen what Travis Hunter's doing in 25, 30 years. Even when we saw things like that 25, 30 years ago, he's surpassing what like the Champ Baileys and the other handful of two-way players, especially at the skill positions. He's doubling on the production that they had back then in a more explosive, competitive college football landscape.
Yeah, he's routinely playing over 100 snaps. I mean, it's flat out remarkable. You're right. I shouldn't even give the caveat, we haven't seen this in a long time. We've never seen this. Let's just put it at that. The other thing, remember, Deion's on the record of saying he will try to dictate where Travis and Shedeur go. With Travis revealing this news in the last hour that he does want to play both ways in the NFL, you wonder, is that going to be a stipulation for Coach Prime of, hey, I only want team X, Y, or Z to draft him because I know the head coach and the head coach has told me he will allow Travis to play both ways. I don't know.
It could be. Listen, I just feel like strong arming in the NFL, especially coming into the draft process, requires such a high amount of balls and leverage. And Travis Hunter is one of the rare players. I mean, we saw Eli Manning, John Elway, we've seen guys do it. And
he's got Coach Prime behind him.
But yes,
you want to talk about leverage. It's freaking Deion Sanders.
He on his own might have the capability, but he's got the hype machine and the eyeball factory and Deion Sanders behind him, who still has a lot of pull, even in arenas that you wouldn't think it's applicable to. I think Travis Hunter is going to win the Heisman Trophy. I don't think that's a hot take, but I'll give you a warmer take. I think last year we were MVP city, right? We had the double MVP. Nathan McKinnon wins the Hart, and Nikola Jokic wins the MVP trophy for the third time in 4 years.
Should have been four straight. Yep.
I think this town is going to have two MVPs again. I think, and you're going to have to allow me the definition that the Heisman Trophy is an MVP of college football. But I think that you're going to see Travis Hunter win the Heisman, and I think you're going to have Nikola Jokic win his fourth MVP in 5 years, which sounds absurd. And you have the contradiction of like, well, there's no way the league's going to want to give it to him, and because that was a counter argument that I heard somebody say when I laid it out, and I said, well, the league's never wanted to give it to him,
right?
Ever,
right.
And he's made it statistically impossible to deny him that award, and he's doing that again, something we've said before, at an even higher level again this year.
Well, it is a little bit of a warm take. But if you want to spice it up, you want to go 3 for 3? I think Nathan McKinnon's right there in the Hart Trophy. I understand we're only 20 games.
He's currently tied with Connor McDavid for second in the odds.
Yeah.
Behind, what's his name that plays for the Wild?
Kaprizov or whatever. Yeah.
Kirill. Yeah. He's currently tied for second. And I think McKinnon can have the type of season to do it. I just think that the bar is actually a little harder for him to clear. I think he's got to have like 140 plus point season, and McDavid is going to be tough competition. Jokic seems to be more apt to be able to separate himself from the pack of Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jason Tatum, who I think is currently second if you were to look at it today. I think Jokic has a better setup to try to separate from that pack than McKinnon. I guess if I was going for a scorching hot take, I would say that we could go 3 for 3. And who knows, if Cale Makar stays on the trajectory that he's going on currently, he could be in the Hart Trophy conversation in a couple of months.
Yeah, he could. And he's looking like a slam dunk to get the Norris if he keeps this up, the best defenseman. And then, let's just spice it up even more. Bo Nick's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Sean Payton's going to win Coach of the Year. Like, we really may be award city, Richie. We got to get all these guys to present each other all their trophies.
How many pregame ceremonies are we going to have over the course of a year to make sure that everybody is able to touch and present the other person's trophies?
Yeah, I would love this town to have like 7 major trophies, and we get all 7 of those guys in one room. I mean, can you imagine Nikola Jokic and Travis Hunter in the same room? That would be a lot of fun.
You mentioned, talk about 2 quirky guys. Like Travis Hunter is like Nikola Jokic, we've always said for years, is the anti-NBA superstar. He is everything that it almost feels like the NBA doesn't want in who they elect to be the face of their league. He's not flashy. He's not insanely athletic. He doesn't live above the rim. He doesn't have that like cocky swagger about him, but he's just so undeniably good at the game of basketball in a way that almost comes across as dismissive at times.
Yes.
That he's hard to deny. And Travis Hunter, in an era where sizzle and flash and personality and all that have interjected into college football at a higher degree than we've ever seen, Travis Hunter is the opposite. He is the like fishing, video game streaming, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't party,
wears
superstar.
Wears like pajamas.
Yeah, he's got like onesie pajamas and a Pokemon hat.
I mean, Travis could be living the life right now, and he's not. And good for him, because that's keeping him focused. Because you know who lived the life? Johnny Manziel. How did that work out?
Sure.
Moving forward. I'm sure Johnny had the greatest 3 years of his life at A&M.
Yeah.
But
and all we have to remember by is a Netflix special.
Exactly. And Travis is hopefully going to have a 15-year NFL career.
And it really, what the real underlying thing of it is that you want to talk about commonality traits between like a Nikola Jokic and a Travis Hunter, just 2 bona fide, genuine, great people.
Yep.
Like at their core, genuinely great character people. And I'm so proud to have them both representing teams here in the state of Colorado. You mentioned Bo Nix though, and there's been a lot of hype around Bo after his slow, sluggish start. And you mentioned the offensive rookie of the week. He's won AFC player of the week. He's won rookie of the month or whatever it is. His rookie trophy case, his baby trophy case is starting to fill up on a shelf here a little bit.
Well, and he got another one this morning. He got rookie of the week again this morning. Yeah.
So it's been a good couple of months for Bo Nix after a slow start. And mind you, this was a guy that was taken 6th out of 6 quarterbacks in the first round off the board in the first 12 picks, but still the 6th quarterback taken off the board had to deal with a lot of negative stigma and opinions around him. Because of that, all the attention went to the easy targets like Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, even JJ McCarthy to a certain degree, who we'll still have to wait and see. And Bo Nix was kind of just like a stepchild within that Drake May category, and started off sluggish. And it was, oh my gosh, here we go. All those people who were, I had a 3rd round grade on Bo Nix, or he's like a C+ prospect or whatever, we're kind of taking their premature victory laps. But take a look at his stats in the last couple of months. It's unbelievable when you look at since the start of October and this is just among rookie quarterbacks, he's first in every major category. I mean, throw a dart at a quarterback's statistical chart, and Bo Nix ranks number 1 in every single one. And even if you take it away from just comparing him to his rookie class, he's a top 5 fringe top 10 fringe top 5 top 10 quarterback statistically in the NFL the last couple of months. And so I have said on this show and in this office multiple times, I no longer think it is wishful thinking or orange and blue glasses to look at this Denver Broncos team and say, this is a team that should be a wild card playoff team.
Yeah, it's going to be disappointing if they don't make the playoffs. That was the conclusion I reached. I was doing radio with James Merrilat on 104.3 The Fan, and we sort of both settled on that. Like, Richie, they're 6-5. Okay, it's 4 teams fighting for one spot, okay? It's the Broncos, it's the Dolphins, it's the Colts and the Bengals really fighting for the 7 seed. But the Broncos have the inside track. First of all, you play Cincy and Indy, so you kind of control your own destiny there. And second of all, you got 2 gimmies, layups before the bye in the 2-8 Raiders and the 2-8 Browns. You really should be 8-5 going into your bye. On the Bo stuff, man, I mean, Richie, this growth that he has shown within a season, that's what's really hard to wrap my mind around.
Yeah.
We see guys make this leap after full off seasons,
Mm-hmm.
year 1 to year 2, year 2 to year 3. He doesn't even look like the same quarterback that he did in September, that he did in October, and he now is in November. I mean, his trajectory has just been this. It's been remarkable.
It's so validating for several reasons. One, I think it's incredibly validating for Sean Payton. Sean Payton,
He still got the fastball, baby.
He still got the fastball. Sean Payton took a year off from coaching, and the narrative around that was, nationally, I think it was more positive in some ways than here locally. Here locally, it got bogged down very much into he was the third choice. It was Jim Harbaugh. It was DeMeco Ryans. And some or all of that may be true.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of genuine questions about whether or not Sean Payton still has the mind and the capability to compete at the NFL level the way that he did, almost 2 decades ago when he won a Super Bowl. And the first season with Russell Wilson, abject disaster to that regard. There was that 5-game win streak toward the end of the season where it was like they salvaged what would have been a dumpster fire bottom out season and turned it into kind of like a middling, ambiguous question mark season.
Yeah.
And that fueled the fire. And then Sean Payton came out in the draft process, drafted a first-round rookie quarterback for the first time ever as an NFL head coach, and was adamant that this is the best quarterback in the draft class. This is the guy that fits perfectly with my scheme and my system. Then what does he do? He comes out and becomes the first Broncos quarterback ever to not have a touchdown pass in the first 3 games of his career. And he had 4 interceptions during that span. And it's like, okay, maybe Sean's like, a little too high on his own supply kind of thing. And then it clicks. And little by little, it wasn't an immediate switch. The Bo Nix that we saw against Atlanta was not the Bo Nix that we saw, in week 4 or 5. I mean,
the Chargers game at home was a tough watch.
Yeah, exactly. He threw an interception on it. It was a tipped interception, but threw an interception on his first pass of the game. And I just think it's been super validating for Sean Payton, who, like Coach Prime in a lot of ways, is not afraid to talk his own talk and put it out there and welcome the kind of pushback and the criticism and the expectation and the weight that comes with that. And the work that he's done with Bo Nix to get him to look the way that he has, Bo deserves credit for being an ample pupil and student and being able to absorb all these things while drinking through a fire hose at the NFL level. Because I don't care how many games you played at Oregon and Auburn and all that, and you're the most experienced quarterback in college history and all that. The NFL is still the NFL. And it's not easy and shouldn't be taken lightly, the adjustments that these young guys have to make and the time crunch that they have to do it in. So Bo deserves credit for that. But Sean's the one holding the pencil.
Yeah.
Holding the pencil and the whiteboard, teaching this guy how to do it. And so he deserves massive credit for that. It's validating in that respect.
Yeah, I think Sean, popped off to that New Orleans reporter. I believe it's Jeff Duncan. About the next time I win 6 games in a season will be the first. And we're like, yeah, careful what you wish for. Well, guess what? He's going to win a heck of a lot more than 6 games once again this season. So he was right to pop off. On the rookie QB class, real quick. All right, so right now, Bo Nix is clearly either the best or second best of the rookie quarterbacks. It's him and Jaden Daniels. But these 6 guys are going to be intertwined forever. Okay, these 6 guys are going to be intertwined forever. And I'm talking about Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Michael Penix Jr., JJ McCarthy, and Bo Nix. All right, all 6 are going to be intertwined. So for after 1 year, us to say, hey, Bo's at least the second best of the 6, if not the best. That's just remarkable progress because it's like a horse race. He had to start at 6, and now he's in second or first.
Correct.
Where's he going to be 10 years from now? That remains to be seen. But again, these 6 guys will always be tied together.
And I'm sure somebody has put this out there because the NFL machine churns content out on a year-round basis. But if you were to do a QB redraft of this year, just based on the first half or a little more than half of this NFL season, I think Bo Nix is at worst the 3rd quarterback taken off the board. I think he's the 2nd quarterback taken off the board.
I think Jaden Daniels would take him first.
I think Jaden Daniels goes 1 or 2, and Bo Nix is 2 or 1. It gets kind of interesting after that. Okay, let's just do it. Let's redraft the 6 QBs. Factoring in, you don't have to worry about teams and situations and fits.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for me because it's head versus heart, right? Like head versus heart. My head says take Jaden Daniels 1.
That is who I would take. I'll just say it for the record.
Bo Nix 2, Caleb Williams 3,
correct.
Drake May 4, Penix, McCarthy, a coin flip 5, 6.
Yeah. So I think that the McCarthy situation makes it tough because we didn't get to see the sample size. I think the fit with JJ McCarthy in Kevin O'Connell's offense is going to be good.
Yeah.
Is it going to snap and pop off like Bo Nix's and Sean Payton's has seemingly in the last month or two? Maybe not. I don't know. But I don't think it's going to be the oil and water that we're seeing with Caleb Williams in Chicago. And I think Caleb Williams, if they're finally able to break this vicious cycle in Chicago where they like fire the head coach, draft another quarterback, then fire the GM who drafted that quarterback, then fire that quarterback. And it's just like this.
Yeah.
I talked with James Palmer about that. It's like, why is it so hard for these things not to line up? And it's a lack of patience is the ultimate answer. But I think Caleb Williams can be a lot of the things that people thought he was going to be if he's put in the right positions to succeed. Yeah, and I'm not a big believer in Michael Penix, and so he would be my last one. But anyways, I just look at the fact that we're having that conversation. That like, hey, if we did a redraft 12 weeks after the NFL draft, Bo Nix might be the number 1 overall pick. It's nuts. Again, in the same way that the CU program that we knew from 2 years ago is completely unrecognizable now, it's already feeling in certain ways that the Broncos team that we've watched just bumble themselves into oblivion for the last 7-8 years, that image is blurring very quickly.
It is. It's a great time to be a Buffs fan, a Broncos fan, an Avs fan, a Nuggets fan. Like, it really is like the peak time to be living and cheering in the Mile High City. And you can get an $18 margarita at Coors Field. That's
right. And I will. I've admitted that I'm part of the problem when it comes to the Rockies and the factory of sadness. And I will continue to be because I live 100 yards from the ballpark. And there's less fun things to do in the summer.
Yeah. I don't begrudge. It's just a bummer that all our teams are in this conversation other than our sad little baseball team.
That is true. Well, maybe someday, right?
Maybe someday.
There were some who thought that CU, was headed for a long period of dark stretches. And there were some, including me, who thought maybe the Broncos are just never going to be good again if they can't figure it out. So maybe the Rockies, it won't happen, but maybe the Rockies will trip and fall into something miraculous as well. Well, Will, thank you so much for joining me.
Yep.
Always a pleasure to catch up with you. Love everything you're doing at denversports.com and the Mile High Hockey podcast. And can't wait to see everything else you got coming up.
Appreciate you having me on, Richie. Always a fun time.
All right. Thank you, Will. Everybody else, have a great rest of your Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow. Get back to work.